Hey guys, Brian Child with Bakcou, and we manufacture two full suspension bikes, our Storm G2 and our Scout. One of the most common questions that we get is which of these full suspension bikes is right for me? Well, we're going to cover a few of the details. Number one, we're going to tell you the similarities, and then we're going to tell you what's different about these bikes. To start off, they're both built around Bafang's Ultra M620 motor. They both have the RST Renegade front fork and the RockShox Monarch rear suspension. They both have quad piston hydraulic disc brakes, which give you maximum stopping power. They both give you the Maxxis 26x4 tires. They both come with the long-lasting lithium-ion cell batteries. In the Storm G2, you can get that battery all the way up to a 25 amp hour, whereas in the Scout, you can get it up to a 21 amp hour. Now the differences. The Scout is an 11-speed, whereas the Storm is a 9-speed. The 11-speed Scout is an 11x42 tooth rear cassette, whereas the Storm G2 has an 11x36 rear cassette. Essentially, the Scout is going to give you a few more teeth for those steep ascents and give you a little more gear ratio. So you've got a little more for the sport trail riding in the Scout. Also, you'll see the differences in the frame. The Scout has an integrated battery, whereas the Storm has a Dorado style battery. You can see the battery sits on top of the frame here, whereas the battery is enclosed within the down tube of the Scout. The last thing to mention about the differences between these two bikes is that the suspension on the Scout is built more for the sport trail rider, whereas the suspension on the Storm is built more for the utility rider. The suspension on the Storm is a stiffer suspension, so it's built more for carrying and packing. The Scout certainly will carry and pack, but it's built more for the sport trail rider. One key thing to remember about the rear suspension of both of these bikes is the rear linkage. So you'll see here on the Storm G2 that it has these big stabilizing bars that come down to stiffen up the suspension on the Storm, which gives you that utility style ability of the Storm G2. The linkage on the Scout, as you notice here, does not have the stabilizing bar. It's a little more fluid and is built more for that sport trail riding. I tell guys all the time, if you're a guy that's gonna ride this 80% of the time on sport trail rides, camping, and just getting off-road, then the Scout's the right bike for you. Whereas if you're a guy that's gonna use this around the farm, or you're somebody who's gonna use it for hunting primarily, then the Storm is more of the bike for you. So either way, you're not going to go wrong if you go with the Scout or if you go with the Storm. They both have phenomenal suspension. They both have incredible air suspension on the front and the rear end. It just depends on what you're going to do with it. If you're more of the utility guy, then the Storm G2 is your bike. If you're the guy that's going to do a lot of trail riding, but then you also want to hunt with it and you do want to do some stuff around the farm, you can certainly add the rear pannier rack, you can add the rear fender, you can add the front fender, and you can turn this into that utility bike as well. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to call us. Any one of our customer service representatives will be happy to answer any of your questions. You can visit us online at www.bakcou.com. Follow us on Instagram at Bakcou Life, and you can also find us on YouTube.